We live in an area where trees and grasses and shrubs back up right to our homes. Not only that, but we live in an area where thousands of acres of forest surround our homes in the mountains. Now, just for a moment, let's all close our eyes and imagine ourselves sitting in a comfy recliner. We're within a small cabin, watching the sun fall below the mountains. As it darkens, you can see a faint glow of a wildfire the local news said was spreading in the next valley. All of a sudden, there's a knock at the door. You stand up and you walk over to open it. A firefighter is standing there telling you that you need to evacuate. The fire is moving in the direction of your home. Within minutes, only the essentials of your belongings are packed up into your car. As you're driving, you take one last look in the mirror at your house, and you tell yourself that there's a 50-50 shot that when you come back, your home will be burnt to the ground. But that isn't true. Wildfires are inevitable, but the destruction of homes, ecosystems, and lives are not. Today I'm going to tell you how you can further protect your home from wildfires. Over the past 3 decades, many parts of the United States have experienced extreme wildfire events. The frequencies have been causing the loss of life and property in an increasing amount. One of those being that we continue, for many reasons this occurs. One of those is being that we continue to push further and further into areas that are historically predisposed to wildfires. Our communities then develop within or adjacent to these fire-prone areas, leaving ecosystems vulnerable to them and our communities vulnerable to themselves. The reason is rooted in history going all the way back to the 1800s. By the late 1800s, fires in the western was greatly reduced as people started to move in. The years, all fires were burning as it threatened their homes, their grasslands, and their establishments. This caused things like dead trees and other vegetation known as fuel to build up all across the western United States. It got worse in 1910 when, after an enormous wildfire, the Forest Service implemented the 10 a.m. policy. There was an official policy that tried to have all fires put out by 10 a.m. the preceding day. As you can imagine, this left an incredible amount of fuel sitting around, waiting to burn. Here's the suppression stats from 1985 to just last year. As you can see, in the red is the number of fires that occurred during that year, while the number in the white box is the number of acres that was burned. As we continue to go through time, you can see as the number of fires continues to fall, while the number of acres continues to rise. This dramatic increase of acres being burnt, paired with the decrease in the total amount of fires, shows something called the wildfire paradox. Wildfires are effectively suppressed or put out 95 to 98% of the time. This leads to a buildup of fuels, creating higher density, rapidly spreading fires that are unable to be suppressed. Our current fire suppression policy is based on an unachievable goal of eliminating all wildfires in which we have built our homes. In no way is this physically feasible or ecologically desirable, as species in North America have evolved to coexist with fire. Reframing the objectives of fire management is how we best live with wildfire, and a fire-adapted environment is critical to untangling the wildfire paradox. Now, there are 3 very simple, easy solutions that can help reduce the effect wildfire has on our lives. These goals are fuel reduction, home ignition zones, and fire-wise communities. There are several goals for fuel reduction. The reduction of future wildfire intensity, rate of fire, and the reduction of fire occurrences. Using chainsaws to thin the amount of trees and chipping to clear large logs around a home can significantly increase the chances your home will survive during a wildfire. However, using pre-described burns prescribed fires remove the surface fuels on which wildfires depend. Things like litter, grass, and other small fuels all largely contribute to the spread and intensity of fires. In contrast, most fuel reduction processes using chainsaws or manual labor, like thinning and chopping, focus on large woody materials that only emit a portion of the fuel available to burn in wildfires. Continuing on with home ignition zones, the likelihood of a home ignition during a wildfire is determined mainly by 3 home ignition zones. These HIZs, as they're called, refer to the material the home is constructed of, as well as the maintenance of vegetation surrounding the home. The structure itself should use fire-resistant materials such as stucco or tile shingles to prevent any embers from causing a small amount of ignition within the home. Now within Zone 1, which is 15 to 30 feet around the home itself, no plants should be left. All possible fuels like pine needles and other debris need to be cleared. Zone 2 requires thinking about pruning and thinning of dead and dying tree shrubs. This reduces the amount of vegetation that's possible to burn around your home. Large trees should have a 10-foot gap around them and no vegetation between them to keep fire from jumping from one tree crown to the other. Propane tanks and firewood need to be away from the home, preferably at a higher elevation. This is because if these start to ignite, the fire tends to burn uphill, so this is likely to ignite your actual home. And finally, Zone 3 should provide a gradual transition back into unmanaged fire-prone areas. And finally, fire-wise communities. Fire-wise communities are key to the home's surviving wildfires. Using the thinning of vegetation on properties and homes made from fire-resistant materials reduces the possibility of ignition, while roads that are large enough to handle people evacuating and emergency vehicles provide safe routes for first responders and evacuees. Finally, the developer of a community needs to put in fire-wise contracts to those who buy homes in fire-prone areas, as the survival of homes in a densely packed neighborhood relies on every structure using all of the principles you've learned here today on how to better prepare your home for a wildfire. So as you're looking at your home in the rearview mirror of your car and you're driving away, you can think soundly that you've given your house and your home and all your belongings the best chance it has to surviving the wildfire. Thank you.